And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com. You know the drill. www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. They will deliver it right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop. Or use the app to place your carry-out order. Get yourself down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15%. And just so people know, I want to reiterate this, Aaron. Dayton, Kentucky is close. It is not far. It's not far across the moat. Like, you can see the moat from Galactic Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
Just get off at where you would go to the levee, and you turn the other way, and you're there in like 4 minutes. So that's an important one I think people need to understand. You're not going to Florence. You're not anywhere near the airport.
It's only taking 4 minutes if you get caught at that light in front of the party source.
Right. Yeah, the party source. That one that might take you 3 minutes there. But once you get past that light, it's right there.
Yeah, so not far.
Get down and visit our friends. They will be happy to see you. All right, Aaron, let's get this rolling. Well, we're gonna do this because I want you running the show. My friend Matt Norlander, who works for CBS Sports, parent company of 24/7, is out on the road like all the other national media guys. They go out 1 week a year. This is it for Peach Jam, and Adidas and Under Armour finals are in fairly close proximity this week. So coaches are on the road. The national media is out. Stories are going to be written about college basketball and the state of college basketball. So
yeah.
Norlander wrote a story essentially encapsulating where things are at with the transfer portal and with the COVID year that we're soon going to finally be kind of aging out of here in the next 18 months or so in terms of the recruiting ramifications. And I thought it was a really interesting story. I have lots of thoughts. As an outsider, I think it's important to have you drive this car because your reactions are going to be different than mine just from proximity. So, Aaron, turn it over to you.
I guess first and foremost, it's a numbers game, right? I mean, you only have so many scholarships per team. And when you add an entire year of COVID, and the same case could be made for football at that point, or any sport for that matter. You're going to have a whole cycle of kids that trickle down from D1. But
4 cycles of kids.
It continues, right?
No, 4 cycles of kids because everybody got it. From the freshmen to the seniors, everybody got the COVID year.
But so you have that affecting D1 scholarships, D1 athletes. We knew all of that.
Let's overview Norlander's point is that it's a very weird time for high school recruiting.
Yeah. And look at the way that Cincinnati has built their roster. Their roster right now is consisted of mainly guys from the portal. And you have Vic as the elder statesman. You have Josh Reed and Dan Skillings and Sage. And you have the new guys, the new freshmen, Ray and Jizzle. And outside of that,
Day-Day's technically a transfer. For this exercise, Day-Day is a transfer. When you're a JUCO, you get your associate's degree, you transfer to a Division I institution. So that was I was close to debating whether the roster was more transfers or more homegrown talent, I guess is the term now. But technically, Day-Day is a transfer. So I defer to your I give you that one. It's close, though.
So even looking at what the roster, if everybody stays next year, that has eligibility left, you're not looking at many spots. And I guess to me, I understand why it would be frustrating. We've talked about this. We've joked about it. Like, you're going to go, if you bring in a freshman, you're essentially going to be developing a freshman for somebody else. where they're going to transfer out at some point to go play, like, especially at a lower level school, your mid majors or D2, you're developing guys for other schools to pluck. If they get good, like if they're doing things the right way, they're going to get plucked and end up transferring, and somebody else is going to get all the effort that you put into developing a kid. And I think it's got to be frustrating for coaches at that level to do everything that they can the right way and end up losing their guys. But that's just kind of where things are at. But I understand the point of the article, just in that a lot of coaches aren't going to check incoming freshmen out, especially if it's anything less than. He made a point. Somebody's quote was, "If you're a guy who's ranked 60 or less, you're probably," the quote was, "you're probably fucked." And I would agree. You're probably looking at a mid-major to a D2 school.
This is the really interesting part of that article, because the one thing that Matt took that quote and expanded on it a little bit further and said, right now there is this kind of I want to make sure I phrase this right. There's this, I guess, red flag. I don't think that's the perfect way to describe it, but there's this range of 25 to 100. So like the 5 stars, and even now if you look around, the 5 stars are not coming into college basketball and doing what they did 5-10 years ago even.
No, because you have very old rosters at this point with guys who are 21, 22, 23 years old. Yeah.
The portal's allowing every roster to get old and stay old, because if they feel like they're not old enough, then they go in the portal and they get
somebody who is
a bunch of guys. Mm-hmm. So and I had a little bit of back and forth on this on Twitter, where somebody disagreed, saying 25 through 100 are always going to be coveted. And it's not that they're coveted. It's that the reality is 25 to 100, those kids are developmental for the most part. Mm-hmm. They're going to be good, but it's probably not going to be year one. And what is happening is there's no patience. So they go to college, they don't play, or they don't play as much as they think they should in year one. They're a 4-star, right? They don't play, and then they're in the transfer portal either after year one or year two. So when we always talked about the lineage of like how this is supposed to work, year one, you want to do kind of what Dan Skillings did last year. You know, that ideally, that 12 to 16 minute range, you're an important piece, but you're not like, you're a rotational piece, but you're not like a star. And then in year two, you increase that role, hopefully become a starter. Year three, you become hopefully like an all-conference level guy. And then year four, you're playing for your professional aspirations.
Sure.
Well, kids are getting to year one and jumping ship. And then they are going somewhere else for years 2, 3, and 4. Mm-hmm. And that's going to make coaches leery, because coaches are going to say, okay, well, then I'll just wait and get these kids 25 to 100 out of the portal next year.
Later, right.
After they've already gone through the hard part, after they've already gone through the developmental year, and that realization of like, I'm not quite where I thought I should be yet. Like I'm working my way up. Well, then you go somewhere new, and now you're one of the older guys instead of the new guy coming in, and your perspective change, and somebody else reaps the rewards of what that coach did. So I think, Aaron, there's going to be a really interesting like divide here, because I think there are going to be coaches that say, you know what, I trust my culture. Mick was pretty adamant in that article. Mick had a bunch of quotes in there. I think it said he's going to be the only roster, potentially the only roster in the country this year without a transfer. Which everybody in UCLA's system started at UCLA. Why?
Yeah,
But
it's pretty crazy. And you even have coaches. You even have coaches that aren't using any scholar. Like they have. I'm sorry, not they aren't using all of their scholarships. Like they still have some because you're building, hoping that you are landing some of these transfers. Maybe you don't, and then you're stuck with holes that you weren't able to fill, as you had guys that you were going after, and somebody else ended up with that transfer.
Right. So it's, but that part has been coming for a while, because on a 13-man roster in a world where it's actually funny. Somebody said to me like the 200 level kids are the ones that are going to end up in the portal. And I'm like, no, the 200 level kids are the ones that come in knowing they're developmental. Yeah. Like they have an understanding that I'm coming in without huge expectations to play right away. The 4-star kids that have done great on the EYBL or, Adidas or whatever, they're coming in thinking, I'm coming in to play, and I'm going to play a lot, and I'm going to be a major factor on my team. Well, what used to happen, like a perfect example, I think, is Gary Clark.
Right.
They lost Justin Jackson and Titus Rubles right before Gary came in. There was nobody in front of Gary for that spot. What would have happened now? You would have gone in the portal. You would have got a junior or a senior to come in and play that role. Gary would have played, but he would have been probably developmental behind the older guy.
Correct.
And would not have had the career and become probably the Gary Clark that we, as Cincinnati fans, grew to know and love.
Correct.
So that has changed drastically because those freshmen in that range aren't getting that opportunity of a coach that says, all right, well, I need a starting 4. I'm going to go out and get me a 4-star starter that's going to come in here and play. Instead, they're saying, I'm going to go get me a transfer portal guy that's already been in college 2 or 3 years, and he's going to plug the hole. And hopefully the freshman we got will stick around long enough to play after that guy leaves. It's a weird dichotomy, but this is how coaches are thinking, Aaron. I'm wasting my time recruiting high school kids.
Right.
Because they're going to go play for somebody else by the time they're good.
And Cal even made mention of the fact that Coach Calipari, he was saying in that article that not only are you having to recruit for the portal and transfers in, but you're also, and we've talked about this plenty of different times, but you have to continue to recruit your own players to make sure that they are not jumping ship. So that's where he said it's hard for him to justify spending the time on the road when he has to spend that time with the transfer portal and on campus recruiting his own players, as opposed to going out and getting a high school kid who may not even stay. I understand.
I said this. This is one of the things the coaches told me when the transfer portal became a thing. And people did not agree with me. Largely did not agree with me. And now it is becoming abundantly clear. The biggest thing that changes with the transfer portal is that now you have to recruit your roster every day. Every day you have to recruit your roster. It used to be coaches had this mentality of you're here, you're mine. The coaches had all the power. The players did not have any power.
Correct.
And now the power has drastically shifted.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not meeting with guys all the time, if you're not, I know like there are coaches that, and I've talked to a bunch of coaches that like, you have to find out like what makes that player click. If you have a guy that loves golf, don't take the kid golfing. A kid that's already on your roster, just on a random Tuesday, you're going to block out 4 hours of your schedule and you're going to go golfing to build that bond, to build that connection. It's a good thing because it's forcing coaches out of their ivory tower comfort zone.
Yeah.
And making them develop a stronger relationship with their players. But it also means that, guess what? You might only get to go, if you're allowed on the road Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you might have 2 transfers in town in the spring on official visits.
Right.
So you need 3 coaches from your staff or 2 coaches from your staff on campus to show the kid. If the kid shows up and you've got like 1 assistant coach there,
not a good look.
They're not coming.
Not a good
unless
look.
you pay them, unless you pay them more than anybody else. But it's just such a wild world, Aaron. I've talked too much. Give me your thoughts.
No, I mean, it's not really a surprise at this point, though. We saw the writing on the wall. We knew this was coming when you granted it a year of eligibility for everybody for COVID, and then you have the transfer portal. All of this makes sense. Like I guess it's finally being talked about, but we knew that all of these things were going to happen. When you talk about hundreds of players being left, not having a home, that would have been scholarship players, it's not something that is unexpected or that doesn't make sense. Like it all makes perfect sense. So I don't know. I guess I'm a little surprised because I feel like for a time everyone was getting younger. Everyone was trying to get the next one and done, and now it's trying to gather as much time as you can on your roster. The more age you can get, it's becoming a more common thing.
Everybody's picking men, Aaron. They're not.
Yeah.
Boys don't do you any good anymore.
Right.
Men have become the kind of the mantra, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, all this stuff makes sense to me. I'm not like blown away or baffled. It's just, it's cool to see it put down in words and that the coaches are on the same level that we've kind of seen from a 40,000 foot view. So,
yeah, well, my opinion has been formed by talking to a lot of coaches about this as it has developed, right? Like they've seen all this coming. Maybe it's happening. I think it's accelerated because of the COVID stuff.
Sure.
Because guys now have a 5th year or a 6th year if they redshirted or got hurt or what, like
right.
That has, I mean, there's probably, I would love to know how many guys are in a super senior year still, where they already played 4, and now they're playing a 5th. That would give us a better idea of like how much it's like.
And you're seeing the NCAA try and get some of that. You're seeing the NCAA try to get some of that power back as they're apparently being a little bit more strict with their second-time transfer rules. So I don't know. We'll see. I just wish that there was more consistency from the NCAA, and
they're still trying to figure it out because they screwed up.
Well,
there's no consistency because they don't know what, like they're still on the fly trying to figure this out because they messed up so bad.
If they would have just quit digging in so hard.
Yeah. Kansas, did you see what I posted on the board?
No, I've been traveling today, and
I had a source tell me that they believe Kansas is operating with a max NIL budget, and this is for the whole team. So like what the players that are already there combined with what like the transfers and the recruits are getting, how much do you think they're operating with in NIL per year?
At Kansas?
Yeah.
$20 million.
8.
8?
8. Well, for 13 guys.
It's, I mean, almost $500,000 a player.
It's more than $500,000 a player.
Yeah.
Yeah. About 600,000, I think, something like that, 6+. It's that's pretty good life if you can get it when you're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old.
Not bad.
Just saying. No, you're doing all right. Doing all right. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. BBP, another nightcap. Let's keep it moving. We're in July. Camp is coming. We are less than or roughly 3 weeks away from the start of camp. So it's about go time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Galactic Fried Chicken. This is BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!